what's up everybody, it's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today we're going to be playing more of the +1 seasonal events, which is an alternate game mode in which whenever we play a unit, we will also spawn a 1-power copy of that unit in the same row. Today we're going to be trying out what looks like just a meme deck, and while it is a lot of fun, it is also surprisingly effective. So let's go give it a look. So today we'll be playing a Nilfgaard Imperial formation deck that focuses on flooding our opponent's rows with as many spies as possible. And because in the +1 event, whenever we play one of those spies, we will spawn an additional copy in our opponent's row, it is particularly easy to do that. But that's not all. That's only where the meme begins. Because we also have the Master of Puppets, which is a new card from the Thaned Coup expansion, which allows us to seize one of our opponent's units, but then moves the Master of Puppets over to the opposite row on our opponent's side of the board. So normally you'd have to be really careful about that, because of course then your opponent is getting this card, and once it comes off cooldown, they can steal one of your bronze units. However, if that row is already full, then the Master of Puppets will not move, in which case we can continue to seize as many bronze units as we want. And because we're already focusing on flooding our opponent's side of the board, that makes doing this combo that much easier. And that's really all there is to it. Assuming that we jam our opponent's side of the board, they're going to be filled with a bunch of 1-power units, and then not be able to play the units that they actually want. So now I'll flip through the deck to show you what else we have. And of course, for the most part, you're going to see a lot of spies, or at least in the case of Braathens, cards that can create spies. Then Cahir is the key exception to that, because if our opponent plays one of their best boosting cards early, before we manage to flood their rows, then we can play Cahir and also benefit from those boosts. Then we have the Defender, which is likely to protect Cahir. Then we have few enough bronze units that Artorious Vigo is guaranteed to at least give us the option of choosing one spy, if not a couple of other bronzes that can be used as finishers. And because our opponent's side of the board is going to get jammed very quickly, and our side of the board might as well, the Bone Talisman is here for when there's no room to play any more units. And Clear Skies is basically just a weaker version of the Bone Talisman. Then the Seditious Aristocrats are one of our finishers, or at least one of the few units we want to have on our side of the board, because of course our opponent is going to have a lot of spies, though unfortunately the copies of the disloyal units that we play on our opponent's side of the board do not gain spying. Then, of course, the Master of Puppets. Then Swallow is another source of boosting once our rows get full. So there's a look at the deck. Overall, it is very simple. Just flood your opponent's side of the board with as many spies as possible, and then once things are full, use some of your special cards to boost your side when your opponent can no longer play anything. So let's go see it in action. Alright, so going in Scoia'tael here, and they'll go first. Alright, and with our starting hand, I do like that we have Cahir, and we have a nice mix of spies and non-spies here, as well as the Bone Talisman, so I think we're probably fine. They'll start with some hand boosting with the Hawker Smuggler. Then let's go with Cantarella to get things started. And we'll take Percival. Okay, so Harmony, it looks like. And then you just saw that a card was moved in their hands, so they definitely have Sunset Wanderers. Now they're going with the Elven Swordmaster, so that'll give them some damage. And now I think let's go with the Emissary and start to crowd this melee row. Then we'll boost up our weaker Percival. Now they're going to deal some damage with those Swordmasters. Fortunately, Percival has armor. Well, not enough to tank that Alistair's Thunder. So now let's go with the Duchess's Informants. Make some Swordmasters of our own. And their melee row is starting to get fairly full. And it actually works well that we got Percival. We'll trigger his Harmony as well. And then they're going with Milena, and that'll presumably be to move our Swordmasters out of the melee row. Yeah, because they are row locked. And they'll even get rid of one of them altogether. And tell you what, not liking the looks of this in round 1. I think they have too many engines set up at the moment. It's going to be hard for us to catch up to them. So let's save our best cards for round 2 and round 3. Alright, and as for our hand for round 2, I think we get rid of the Swallow. That's not one of our better cards. And then we don't need 2 Bone Talismans, so we'll get a Master of Puppets. They're going to drive past. A little bit surprised there, because theoretically they could have done a couple of throwaway cards. Speaking of throwaway cards, let's use our Aristocrats here to get the job done in round 2. Alright, then I think we actually have a pretty good mixture of cards here for round 3, so let's leave it at this. And let's start with maybe the Defender, so that we can then put down Cahir safely. Because there isn't too much to do with our spies when they don't have any units to create copies of, and we don't have any units to boost. Okay, they're going to go with the Sorceress of Dol Blathanna. And so now let's get Cahir down there. And of course, they are guerrilla tactics, so in theory they could move 2 defenders and 1 of the Cahirs. They're going to go with the Dol Blathanna Sentry. And here comes the Sunset Wanderers. Alright, so now let's start flooding their rows here. Let's go with Prince Willem. And that gives us Oneiromancy. So we can use that to get down Joachim to further flood their rows. And that'll give us, okay, Artorious Vigo, which we can use to create more spies for a total of 6 units in their row in 1 turn. Okay, then here comes their movement with their leader ability. So they'll move both our defenders and then 1 of our Cahirs. Oh, and then well done. That'll move our last Cahir as well, so all of them out of the melee row. So they will no longer get boosted. And the Treant War will give them some damage. But now let's continue to flood their rows here. And let's make an Emissary with Braathens. And use that. Boost our other defender here. And then they're going to use Karratha Heatwave to actually Heatwave themselves. You don't see that very often, but we flooded them so much they thought it was necessary. Now let's use Coup de Grace to make another Joachim. I'll put him in the range row. That'll give us another Seditious Aristocrats. And this one will get boosted quite a bit. And they can damage Braathens, yes. They only have a little bit more space left. They get in Yennefer Conjurer, which is actually a very good choice, because even if they run out of space, they can continue to use her order ability. But now let's go Master of Puppets. And they'll use those orders to deal damage, though fortunately, the Aristocrats were significantly more boosted than everyone else. Then they use Teleportation, which is actually a very clever way to get a little bit more points, even when their row is full. Now let's go with our other Master of Puppets. There go the Yennefer orders again. And Spores, actually to reset the defender that we had boosted. That's well done. Another way to generate some points even when their row is full. Now let's steal the Dol Blathanna Sentry. That gives us some space to play this Emissary. And let's try to get one of our units significantly more boosted than the others again. Here come the Yennefers with their damage again. And at this point, they're just discarding cards, because they can't do anything. Let's steal some more units, but our range row is full, so we can't take any of the good ones, in which case we're just doing this hokey pokey to boost the Aristocrats. And then use Royal Decree. Get the Duchess' Informants. Create another copy of the Sorceress of Dol Blathanna. More damage from Yennefer. But they can't play this card either. So at this point, let's use our leader ability. Boost up our Sorceresses of Dol Blathanna, including the one that just had 1 power. And it doesn't matter which card we put at the top of our deck. Now let's use these orders. And let's go Tempering here. Then all we have is damage here, but we actually don't want to destroy anything. So the rows are still full. And let's boost everything. And we have a sizable lead here. And do they have anything they can do with this last card? Sure, they still have the damage from Yennefer, but that's definitely not enough. And no, they can't play that card. so we will take the win. The row flooding doing the trick. Alright, so going against monsters here, and they'll go first. Alright then, I think we just get rid of the Swallow here, but otherwise this starting hand looks good, so let's keep it. Okay, they're going to go with the Wild Hunt Rider, and of course they have dominance here. Now let's go with Artorious Vigo to get things started. And go with the Duchess's Informant. Create a copy of the Wild Hunt Rider. And trigger that Assimilate one more time. Okay, they'll use their tactic. Then they'll use Adastriga. That'll give them some damage, and yeah, they have enough to destroy one of our Artorious Vigos, unfortunately. Now let's go with Cantarella, and start flooding this melee row. Okay, that'll give us some lock. Not sure that really matters at this point, though. None of these units have any additional orders. Now they'll go with Braathens. Okay, that's a problem. If they have consumption, then of course that'll make it so that they can create some more space for themselves, even after we flood them. But I think we keep on trying here. Let's go Oneiromancy into Roderick. And with Roderick, let's get Royal Decree. And with Royal Decree, let's get an Emissary. And then we'll boost a Wild Hunt Rider. Okay, and so they'll do some consumption here. That will give them a little bit more space. Then they're going with a Witch Apprentice. Now, this is a really strong bronze unit, and so that is a great target for our Master of Puppets. But let's start off here by going with our Defender. And they're going with more Relicts, and more strong bronze units, the more potential targets to steal. Then let's get the Master of Puppets out. And because we have the Defender there, that means that even after we steal something, if we switch places with them, they won't have any bronze units they could steal, even if they get the Master of Puppets, because the bronzes will be hiding behind that Defender. But anyway, they pass early, so let's steal some of these big bronzes. And they will end up taking this Master of Puppets, but since they've already passed, that's no big deal. Then we can use Coup de Grace and create even more of these Pig Witches. And that is certainly enough for us to take the round 1 win here. Okay, we have one fewer card than our opponent, so we may look to drive past here, especially because we prefer a long round. But we can probably get rid of the Seditious Aristocrats, and Braathens is definitely an upgrade. Then Clear Skies. I'm not sure Swallow is any better. Okay, let's drive past. And their throwaway card is going to be Maxi. Which means that, of course, they'll take the round 2 win. Let's get rid of that Swallow. Bone Talisman is definitely an upgrade, and that's probably good enough in that case. They'll start with the Self-Eater. So let's go with Willem. And with him, we'll get Cahir. And this does look like they are a very boost-centric deck, so Cahir could be very effective. They'll create some copies of that Self-Eater, and then go with the Ratcatcheress. Now let's go with Joachim. That'll give us the Seditious Aristocrats. And then I think we use Imperial formation here just to give one of those Cahirs a little bit of boost, make them a little less vulnerable in case they do some damage. Then look at the Bloody Mistress. Okay, that is fantastic for us. It's a great card, of course, but it does a lot of boosting, and it also takes up a lot of space when it spawns in those Guerilla fruits. Now let's use Coup de Grace to create more Joachims. And get more Seditious Aristocrats. Then they opt not to play anything here, probably because they don't want to feed our Cahirs any more boosts, although with those Gunner Cores, they're going to automatically boost every turn. Now, Braathens, with Duchess's Informant, to create some Self-Eaters for ourselves. And they're running out of space. And they continue to discard cards. Let's completely fill their rows here. Go with the Duchess's Informant. And create more Self-Eaters. And I think we don't want to use those orders because we're going to run out of space ourselves. But they just give up. They forfeit. So we'll take the win. So there's a look at a Nilfgaard Spies deck for the new +1 seasonal event. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below and let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.